Most people would say you can't have an inferiority complex and a superiority complex at the same time. I however would strongly disagree. Jello has once again decided it's time to tame a massive Barney the dinosaur, and honestly I was too weak to fight against him and his Viagra-fueled dinosaur taming mindset. Also it was bonus taming EXP weekend, so bippity boopity fuck me I guess. Odds are the wildcard RNG gods were watching since Barney's damage was lower than the standards of a Russian prostitute, nevertheless we opted to tame it. Meanwhile this was happening, Jello found an opportunity to tame one or two Doug Jones cosplayers. Guess which one of us had to do the swimming? Here's a hint. It wasn't the guy that lives next to the literal ocean. My personal guess for his lack of wanting to swim is caused from traumas such as public loss of swim shorts, allergic reactions to shrimps. Or possibly he secretly never acquired the knowledge of how to swim. This would seem the most reasonable response. Yep, that's what I'm going with. I've befriended the only Australian that can't swim. Feels like rolling a 1 on a dice with 100 numbers if I'm going to be honest. Barney finally decided to wake up from his nap, coming out with the stats that we expected. That being said, being griefers, we don't really need much more than this damage, so happy days all around. Now to utilize the lovable oath on some unsuspecting thatch house, marking my superiority as a PvP player. But as one last hurrah, Jello realized that he could make us do one last productive thing before getting to actually enjoy the game. That thing happened to be host a trike swingers party. I might not respect Jello's swimming abilities, but he's clearly got bestiality orgies figured out to the bloody dot, and you know what, good for him, everyone should have a skill set. The fact that his happens to involve taming, annoying me and hosting dinosaur orgies, top fucking marks, my dude. The suffering was ultimately over, and as such Pong and I promptly escaped the beastly orgy in hopes of finding bleach which would aid us in rinsing our eyeballs. That didn't seem to work, so we settled for the next best thing, meet running Ted Cruz summer cottage on Spiral Mountain. If bleach isn't going to rinse it, tears of joy might. As we self-dose ourselves with enough dopamine to tranquilize a grizzly bear, one of them spitty plant bastard decided it to spit in our face. Knowing full well this was not going to be a fetish I would subscribe to, we gently backed off, only to find ourselves being T-boned by his guard dog Bronzina. Unlucky for Mr. Bronzina, Barney the dinosaur has been injected with a cocktail of various forms of STDs and ultimately fears nothing, not even a daylight T-boning. Thus he ferociously bites his way through the situation. One by one Ted Cruz familiars perish, and let us be honest, we all notice the world just became slightly more enjoyable. The sun seems to be shining a bit brighter and the air feels like a warm breeze caressing our skin. You would think murdering Ted's companions would have been enough honestly, but the answer is no. With the help of Doug Jones we breach the door. Once inside we find out that Ted supports the philosophy of Miss Marie Kondo, thus living a minimalistic lifestyle in order to spark more joy. I myself happen to also be a fan of sparking joy through minimalism, thus I opt to promptly cleanse his house with a fiery aura. I'm about 3 seconds away from starting my own Netflix show. Yet another white person renovating poor people's houses. That's exactly what the world needs more of right now. Cleansing with Happy Joji, yep, that's what I would call it. It would start as a 6-episode series where I would mostly just stand still staring into the camera with a big smile. While most of the renovating was done by actual useful people, once the design and renovation would finally be done, I would hand over the key and pretend I was the most useful person ever. You heard, Marie Kondo, I am coming for your freaking job, you ruthless bitch. Looks like Ted Cruz had some turrets in his fabricator, sadly putting them up on the actual cottage must have been too much of a minimum wage worker's job. There was even bullets in one of the storage boxes. It was a bold strategy, sadly it didn't seem to quite pan out. Well, if Ted doesn't want them, then I'm sure the Panda Erectile Deficiency Fund will gladly take them. What is the Panda Erectile Deficiency Fund, you ask? Great question. The Panda Erectile Deficiency Fund is based on 2 key things: 1. Saving pandas. 2. Scavenging donations from everyone in order to operate such a fantastic goal. And would you look at that, Ted Cruz left us not only a beautiful set of flak, but he also gave us a handy dandy get off my lawn gun. There's something oddly horrifying about finding a shotgun with a low amount of bullets, but that's probably nothing. As we were scavenging, Pong and Doug Jones breached the remaining mystery door in Ted's house. As was expected, the room was filled with little Oompa Loompas waiting for the next orgy. Quickly taking a look around the room, it's clear that these Oompa Loompas are too far gone to be rehabilitated, thus the theme of this party quickly became murder. The Oompa Loompas however didn't give a single duck about our genocide spree, thus causing us so much confusion we opted to leave half of them alive, specifically the monkeys. Is that considered favoritism? Well, if it is, pull up, I'm not going to apologize. The visit was over, thus Pong did his signature anti-Robin Hood move and we left. While we had been spending our time valuably investigating, Jello had been scouting elsewhere. Apparently having lower morals than a limbo dancer, Jello had decided we would breach this oddly shaped stone house. Being the kind of supportive team that we are, no one had any objections. We tossed out Doug Jones and quickly made a hole in one of the bottom walls. Once breached, it became apparent that this little house was not going to be as shitty as we would have thought, which brings up the next question. Which kind of schizophrenic sociopath builds like this, and can I get his autograph? The little stone house was filled with gunpowder, something that none of us were willing to commit to. Thus we were incredibly grateful, also some very randomly placed cannonballs. If there was one thing that was for sure, at least, was that this man or woman did not subscribe to Marie Kondo's philosophy. What we really would need from this base would actually be bullets so that we could go and fight the boss fight, Carol Baskin in Aberration. But sadly, not more than 2 minutes ago I started telling everyone I was going to compete with Marie Kondo for a Netflix show about cleaning houses. Thus I decided to learn C4 instead and make sure that bitch was not going to get to redecorate this house before I did. Minimalist this you kitchen stain. Just like a professional demolition expert with a degree in overcompensation, we gently placed C4 in the base. The end result is beautiful, and that about wraps it up for this episode. I hope you hated every single moment of this video, and hopefully I will see you in the next one, lunatics. P.S. I bet you smell like bath salt.